in the 3 weeks of practice, you get a gauge kind of where you want to be or where you are kind of heading into the final two?
Yeah, it's just, again, in spring ball, you have to take the again, like I said yesterday, you're panning for gold a little bit. There's a bunch of crap, and then one fleck of gold, and you grab it and build on that, and try to fix the other parts. But our guys are working hard. Again, we competed really well today. Defense definitely had the upper hand today, and we'll see on scrimmage if the offense can kind of bounce back.
Mark, with limited practices, are there a lot of teachable moments where you can stop and just teach guys fundamentally or whatever you're looking for?
There's a million teachable moments, and that's kind of, today you could write a PhD on psychology and coaching and teammates and all, a bunch of stuff that happens, of whether, again, if it's a guy that's down that's coaching somebody else, or some guy that's getting so many reps that he's a little down or whatever, which is an excellent problem. But that we don't stop. During the off days, we have team meetings, and we'll point those things out of good and stuff that we need to improve upon. And then obviously in their position meetings, they're constantly either, again, reinforcing the good, or hey, this isn't our way type of a deal. But by and large, it's really good. But we have a high standard, and we want to amp that standard up even more.
So you want to get as many reps as possible, as opposed to just stopping practice and using those teachable moments.
Yes, when we're on the field in a team situation, we're usually going pretty fast, unless it's a situation, 4-minute drill, or whatever the situation may be. But we have periods within practice where we have walkthroughs built in to kind of get a built-in break for some of the, especially the receivers, DBs, linebackers, those guys that are constantly running, if it's a special teams drill or a team drill or a 7-on-7 drill. And so we can take a minute to either correct something or introduce something.
How do you want to approach the back quarterback situation this year? Last year, it didn't seem like there was ever that clear, definitive backup to Marcus, and you had Jake and Jeff. Is that something you want to change this year, or do you want to kind of approach it the same way?
I think ideally that plays itself out. I think ideally there's separation, but sometimes it doesn't happen. And that's, you can't fake that. That's not something you want to try to create or have happen in any artificial way, because the team knows that, how that comes out. But that's not the end of the world either. I think it's been a competitive situation, and we'll see at the end of spring kind of where we are going forward. If it plays out, it plays out. If not, we're going to fall.
Did Marcus's injury last year and kind of, was that a wake-up call at all in that sense of maybe you want to have that one guy?
No, it wasn't. That wouldn't have affected anything as far as decision making or how things went from that standpoint.
Do you feel there's any bit of separation from those guys at this point now, or is it still kind of the way it's always been?
It's not the way it's always been, but it's not enough. Yeah.
How do they react to that? Not having the definite.
It's tough. Being the backup quarterback to begin with is tough. It's one of those things. You're the solution, right? In everybody's minds, is you'd be the greatest player ever in the history of the world, because you're not in there making mistakes. So obviously, the backup quarterback is always the kind of hero that never has to prove himself. But yet, at the same time, both those guys want to be that guy. And there was never enough separation to have that happen last year, and I think, which is again in some ways a good thing, because they were both kind of banged up or different at times last year. It never happened. It never occurred. But at the same time, we didn't just throw somebody down to the scout team and keep somebody up and force the issue, because again, you can't fake that.
I know he's not here, but how does Morgan Mahalik fit into the backup race?
We'll find out. Yeah, we'll find out. These guys have a ton of reps on them, but you recruit guys for a reason, and we'll find out.
You confident you can achieve the same level of success with either of those guys?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not a confidence issue at all.
Okay.
And that's where I think that was kind of misunderstood. If one of those guys would have been a clear-cut number 2 to Marcus. That wouldn't have had any effect on anything we did.
You were tight end by committee last year. You want one guy to kind of step up and separate himself this year for that position?
Not necessarily. We got 4 of those guys that you could count on and play. And playing with multiple tight ends is huge. It's tough to defend. You can be in a ton of different formations with those guys, and especially the guys that we try to recruit. They're versatile. They can block at the line of scrimmage. They can block in space. They can run and catch, and you can do that. And just from a defensive coordinator perspective, line up in a limited number of formations, but yet still be able to line up and pound the ball. Defensive guys don't like that.
Has one guy kind of stood out so far in the spring camp?
Evan Bayless has been, better. Kolakai's been better.
Let's go. Not yet.
Johnny Munt, has been hit and miss. Those guys have got a ton of reps, and I obviously hopefully they're getting better.
Mark, there have been some pretty good reviews of guys who are like a year into position changes, like O'Shea and TJ Daniel. Are there guys who are kind of just starting that process now this spring who you're intrigued by at all? Guys who are just now kind of getting tested out at new places?
You need to prepare with a roster. I don't know. Let's talk about those 2 guys since you asked about that. Rodney Prevost learning how to practice. Farrell Brown just smiles a lot, which is good. TJ Daniel's practicing really well. I think he's starting to, again, just have more confidence in everything he does. O'Shea's starting to play faster. Rodney Prevost's starting to play faster with more confidence. And it's just, there's more guys getting to the point where, okay, all this stuff makes sense, and now I can just cut it loose. And that's obviously the point you want everybody to be at some time, and there's more guys going that direction.